आज हमारी गेस्ट होने वाली हैं मिसेस नवनीता गौतम, जो कि इंडिया की पहली एथलेटिक थेरेपिस्ट है एंड वो बहुत सारे स्पोर्ट्स में काम कर चुकी है, बट स्पेसिफिकली टॉकिंग अबाउट क्रिकेट। ओडीआई वर्ल्ड कप में उन्होंने काम करा और पिछले 5 सीजन से आरसीबी की मेंस और वुमेन्स टीम दोनों की एथलेटिक थेरेपिस्ट रही हैं।
नेचुरली इस पूरे पॉडकास्ट का नेचर और टॉपिक जो है वो होने वाला है अराउंड जो हमारे फेवरेट क्रिकेटर्स हैं, जो आजकल अपने फील्ड के टॉप पर हैं। उनके पीछे के फिटनेस के सीक्रेट्स क्या हैं, वो कैसे अपनी फिटनेस को मेंटेन करके रखते हैं, आईपीएल कितना ज़्यादा टैक्सिंग होता है। ये काफ़ी सारी अनटोल्ड स्टोरीज, वो अनटोल्ड स्ट्रगल्स आपको जानने को मिलेंगे फ्रॉम अ पर्सन जो कि उसी ड्रेसिंग रूम में रहते हैं। आई थिंक ये पॉडकास्ट काफ़ी ज़्यादा इंट्रोडक्टरी इंसाइट्स देने वाला है फॉर ऑल द क्रिकेटर्स जो कि अभी एक यंग एज पे है। एंड आई थिंक ये उनको अपने पेरेंट्स के साथ भी देखना चाहिए, उनको भी काफ़ी कुछ सीखने को मिलेगा। सो विदाउट एनी फर्दर डू लेट्स स्टार्ट द पॉडकास्ट। लाइक ऑलवेज सब्सक्राइब कर देना चैनल को। हमारा जो फ्री टेलीग्राम ग्रुप चैट है वो पिन कमेंट में आपको मिल जाएगा, उसको भी जाके चेकआउट करिए। चेक आउट आवर मेंबरशिप्स एंड नाउ सिट बैक एंड एंजॉय। Yeah, I just wanted to ask one thing. This question just popped in my head right now. When you mentioned that, of course, you should not be too stiff to play a sport like cricket, but also not too mobile. That's a very interesting observation. And so naturally, I had a question that would you recommend yoga for cricketers because that helps in flexibility as well?
Yes. Yeah. So our body is honestly perfect in such a way that it might get a little bit too technical, but every joint of our body follows like mobility, stability. For example, our mid back has to be mobile because we have to turn. But our lower back has to be stable because if it's mobile, then we'll have more disc issues, nerve issues, and all that kind of stuff. So our body is so perfect that the neck, cervical spine needs to be stable. The mid back needs to be mobile. The lower back needs to be stable. And that keeps going on to every joint of our body just by layer. And in our body, not just for an athlete, but for our normal human beings like me and you, we need to have a good mix of mobility and stability. So there's no harm in doing yoga, but there needs to be a limit. Like once a week is absolutely fine. Twice a week is absolutely fine. But at the same time, you need to maintain your strength session also in the gym. There's markers also. Like remember that screening that I spoke about, the musculoskeletal screening that we do. So we try to find like a gold standard. And for example, for like mid back rotation, where like it needs to be X amount of degrees. And this person is just short of, for example, 10 degrees. Then we will give them, a lot of mobility drills for the mid back just to make sure they hit gold standard. Does that kind of make sense? And if it's like, for example, if rehab or stretching and all the exercise that we didn't give and hands-on soft tissue work is not helping, then they can add a little bit of yoga in terms of their program as well, just to keep up or maintain their mobility in that example there.
What I wanted to know is that things like weightlifting, is it true that it does not suit well to some cricketers? Because 10 years back, it was something that was not mandatory for cricketers to do in cricket specifically, because we have seen a lot of ex-cricketers that have said that it did not suit well for their body specifically. But off late, we have seen that from capped players to uncapped players, everyone is indulging in this. So is it actually true that maybe it's not necessary for cricket?
So I think I strongly believe that weight training is. However, you need to kind of like map out your workload accordingly to your matches too. Does it kind of make sense? Like if you played a match on Monday and your next match is Friday, you have that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You have those 3 days to maybe do one lift. Does it kind of make sense? However, if you played a match on Monday and your match is on Wednesday, Tuesday is going to be more of recovery, more of rehab kind of stuff. So for example, even with golf, in off season, they lift pretty well and good amounts of weights. However, when they're on tour and sometimes 3 weeks in a row, it's difficult to lift because the days are long. So it's just about, same thing with cricket, it's just about maintenance. So whatever you built for, let's just say after a 4 week of solid strength cycle in your off season, your job is just to maintain it, either with a TheraBand, either with a little bit of 2 kg weight, just to kind of ignite the muscle still and just to make sure it's still active, right? It's still, it's not getting weaker. And there's only, and this is only done with a little bit of rehab because we actually target those small muscles. And when it comes to weight training, we target as like a broad spectrum of muscles. They can be your glutes, your quads, your hamstrings, all that kind of stuff. However, these little small exercises with a band and with a small weight of a dumbbell, you target those little muscles that you kind of, exclude all the time. So again, just looking at your workload, looking at your schedule map, when are the matches, what is happening, that plays a huge role, and just your workload parameters as well. And now cricket has gone to an extent that number one, there's so much cricket, and number two, there's so much objective measuring going on. So hats off to all the SNCs and the physios. Everything is more computerized. Everything is more, and that helps players like physically see their difference also. And if they are like, no, today I can lift, and you show them a flow chart, which is like very, very, if anyone shows me a flow chart, I can actually be like, oh my God, I'm actually peaking at my extreme, and I need to recover the next day for my match. So things have gone to a great extent of online apps to measure workload. So that's really good.
One more thing that I would ask you, if you want to add any other body type to the conversation that we are having, is there anything else that we did not cover that you would like to add?
For example, for female players, golfers or cricketers or any other sport, I think we really also have to be concerned about the menstrual health, at what time, just because that plays a huge role in terms of recovery, how they feel the very next day. And obviously things in ligaments and, inert structures of our body do become more lax, and there are studies that said there could be more sprains, strains, and whatnot. So once we understand that spectrum, that for like in a female, I think the workload also is managed accordingly as well.
अब सोचो अगर एक क्लिप इतनी बढ़िया थी तो पूरा का पूरा पॉडकास्ट कितना बढ़िया होगा।
तो अगर आपको इसी क्लिप का पूरा पॉडकास्ट देखना है तो यहाँ पे क्लिक करिए, और अगर आपको ऐसे ही और क्लिप्स बिंज वॉच करनी है तो यहाँ पे क्लिक करिए।